Young Depression, the anime. Young Depression, the anime. Young Depression, the anime. Young Depression, the anime. Yep. My version of Iron Man 3 could have definitely have worked with Shang-Chi. Readers, I feel like there's a significant amount of you who know why I haven't made a video on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings until now. But for those of you who may not, I promise you it's not because I didn't enjoy the movie. And believe me, there are plenty of videos that I want to make on the movie. Like, which timeline in the multiverse did the people of Ta Lo come from? Is the Great Protector a politically correct version of Fin Fang Foom? Do the Ten Rings have a connection to the cosmic side of the MCU? The list goes on. But now that the movie is available on Disney+, it's available for a larger audience, specifically those who aren't quite ready to go see the movies in theaters yet. And honestly, if I wasn't talked into seeing the movie with friends who both practiced social distancing and wore masks despite also being fully vaccinated like me, I probably wouldn't have seen the movie until it arrived on Disney+ on November 12, 2021. Yes, I'm extremely cautious when it comes to this health and safety crisis. Because not only do I not have proper health care, but I also have asthma. I do not trust anyone. But out of all the Shang-Chi topics I want to cover now that the movie is available to stream, this one spoke to me the most, because it was one of the first things that I immediately thought about when I initially left the theater. And that's basically the end credits scene featuring Xialing, and how, while it was dope in its own right, the presence and proper use of another Phase 4 character would have made the scene, in my opinion, absolutely amazing. Now, before I continue, I feel inclined to let everyone know that this video will contain spoilers for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So if you haven't seen it yet and you either have Disney Plus or are willing to head to a theater in order to do so, I advise that you stop this video here and now and take care of that if you care about spoilers. Cool? Cool. As you know, Xialing is Shang-Chi's estranged younger sister. Not only was she abandoned by Shang-Chi for 10 years when he was assigned to find the one who murdered his mom and never came back for her like he said he would, but she was also denied Wenwu's empire and martial arts training because of his traditionalist/imperialist mindset regarding women and family, literally being a product of his time.
If my dad won't let me into his empire, I'm gonna build my own.
Over the course of the movie, these are aspects about Xialing's character that she has to overcome, the repair of her relationship with Shang-Chi more specifically. Because the movie's focus is on Shang-Chi and his relationship with Wenwu, we don't really get a chance to see Xialing address the grievance outside of learning the Ta Lo don't necessarily follow the same doctrine as Wenwu. It's mostly made in the form of showing her becoming self-made in the face of her father's patriarchal traditionalism, while also given reassurance from her mother's side of the family that she's capable of not only being an excellent fighter, but also worthy of running an organization as large as the Ten Rings.
这里不是你父亲家，在塔罗，每个人都可以练武。
So when we get to the second end credits scene and we see that not only is she the new leader of the Ten Rings now that Wenwu is dead, but that she's preparing the organization to properly enter the 21st century, we're all given the satisfaction that Xialing and the Ten Rings are going to wreck house the next time that they're featured in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, Shang-Chi was the first film that I've seen in theaters ever since restrictions were first laxed thanks to COVID, and it took me seeing it with friends in order for me to feel comfortable enough to do so. By the time we went to see it, I was up to date on a lot of the Disney Plus exclusives from Marvel Studios, including Black Widow. And it's because I was completely caught up on all the Disney Plus shows and Black Widow, I admittedly had a fear that a certain someone would show up in one of the aforementioned end credit scenes. Cortessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, known in Marvel Comics as Madame Hydra.
Well, these boots are not made for walking.
Now, if you've seen Black Widow or The Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus, then you already are a bit familiar with this character. Her role in Phase 4, for the most part, has been pretty similar to that of Nick Fury and Agent Coulson in Phase 1, and that's mostly due to recruitment. In Falcon and the Winter Soldier, she recruits John Walker after he was discharged from the title of Captain America when he, well, you know, and also supervised his transition to US agent soon after Sam and Bucky handled the Flag Smasher threat. Then, in the end credit scene of Black Widow, we see her join Yelena when she's grieving Natasha at her grave marker, instigating her into hunting down Clint by saying that Hawkeye is responsible for her death after revealing that Yelena is currently on her payroll. Now, while there's no concrete evidence yet, word on the street is that the reason why Contessa is recruiting all these antagonistic and misguided individuals is because either herself or her employer is also putting together a team. The two teams that immediately came to the minds of comic book readers are either the Dark Avengers, which is an organization ran by Norman Osborn, or, and most likely considering his recent appearances in the MCU, the Thunderbolts, named after General Ross, who may also play a factor into the upcoming She-Hulk series for Disney Plus. Not Betty Ross, though. That sounds too much like the right thing for them to do. With that being said, my initial gut reaction to seeing Xialing's end credit scene and it being absolutely free of Contessa when I saw Shang-Chi for the first time was, thank God. Because after Shang-Chi stated what she was up to when they returned to the States, I was immediately worried that in either the post-credit or end credit scenes, we'd see Contessa try and recruit Xialing while she was closing up shop with the 10 Rings. Because considering that Marvel Studios is committing to doing smaller arcs with heroes that fit a certain criteria, it would make sense for the likes of Shang-Chi and his associated characters to be more affiliated with the likes of Clint, Sam, Bucky, Natasha, and Yelena, as opposed to individuals participating in the multiverse saga or on the cosmic side of things like Guardians and Eternals. So when I told my friends this after leaving the theater and exclaiming how relieved I was considering what Contessa's track record was, one of my friends rebutted with not only a better way of using Contessa in Xialing's scene, but one that establishes Xialing as a force to be reckoned with that I can't help but agree with. Because yes, while past Laurent initially was glad Contessa didn't show up to recruit Xialing, present Laurent now thinks that Contessa should have been there to try and recruit Xialing, but fails. One thing about Xialing that's been established from jump is that despite adversity, she is 100% capable. Her father won't teach her martial arts because it's not a woman's place. She'll teach herself and be even better than those who receive said training. Her father won't leave the 10 Rings to her or listen to her ideas because it's not a woman's place. She'll make her own syndicate and forge her own success without him. None of that disappeared by the time we had the Xialing that we do by the end of the movie. The only thing that did change is that her relationship with her brother is now in the process of being repaired, and she now has a proper support network through her Aunt Yingnan and the rest of the people of Ta Lo. If anything, her taking over the 10 Rings instead of dismantling it is Xialing's reward. And now that she's properly modernizing it in order for it to properly thrive, people like Contessa and whoever it is that she's working for would naturally be attracted to it and try and claim it by any means necessary. I can see Contessa using Xialing's fighting ring and her business savvy to try and butter her up, saying something along the lines of, "Imagine what you'd be able to accomplish with our resources at your disposal." Now, imagine Xialing telling her no, right in front of her face. Imagine her revealing that she was able to keep tabs on Contessa and whoever it is that she was working for even before she inherited the 10 rings, and had info about what it was that they were planning from jump. Maybe she takes the time to critique the fact that she was able to track Contessa's movements before having the resources of the 10 rings at her disposal, calling her messy, saying that the paper trails that she leaves behind from her recruitments are obvious, implying that Contessa is only where she is because of her privilege and not because she's actually good at her job, versus what Xialing had to do in order to be where she is by the time the scene happens. There are plenty of ways Xialing can read Contessa for filth and still be the version of the character we see by the end of the movie. And by doing so, not only would it give Contessa and whoever it is she works for more of a driving force to try and either own or take down the 10 rings, but it will both accurately and rightfully so establish Xialing as one of the baddest motherfuckers to ever exist in the MCU. I mean, she's that already, but this would be the cherry on top of the sundae for me. But I digress, readers. Your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comments section below what you thought of Xialing's character development in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings. Or if you feel like sharing with the rest of the class, an end credit scene from the MCU you feel could be made better with a simple adjustment. Whichever question you decide to answer, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you want to help financially support the channel, you can join my Patreon by clicking the card at the end of the video or in the link in the description down below, where you can also find a link to my merchandise store. Or if you prefer to give a one-time donation, you can find links to my PayPal and my Ko-fi account in the description box as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.